Today's guest is a kid that every teacher wrote off who grew up to power Team Canada.
Literally bet the whole farm. I've done it like probably 12 times.
20 years on Canadian ice, chasing an NHL dream. When hockey ended, he drifted. 2 months in banking, a year selling real estate, until a $1,000 light he couldn't afford became the idea he couldn't shake. Then one night in Athens, running laps around the world's first Olympic stadium, he decided to send an email.
You cold emailed the Olympics?
In this episode, we'll uncover how betting on yourself led to the fastest deal in Olympic history, uncover what the Forbes 30 Under 30 headlines never show, a $1.5 million recall, a co-founder buyout, and a company running on fumes, and question why the nights nobody sees are the ones that build the person everybody cheers for.
Behind the scenes, like there was so much going on that was so unenviable. They would trade your life, but they wouldn't trade what got you the life.
Welcome to Founder Portraits. This is Cam Stajer, CEO and founder of Calitherapy. Enjoy. Cam Stajer, thank you so much for coming to Gut Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure to reconnect. So I don't know anyone else who has excelled in so many different domains. Semi-pro athlete, model. I'm pretty sure you DJ'd at one point. You launched a multi-million-dollar business from your house, and you've negotiated massive deals. Are you anywhere close to being done?
I think we're the first inning still. So it's been a crazy journey. We actually went to university together. So that's kind of the background for listeners here. But no, first inning. So we're excited and it's been a blessing so far. So just getting started.
So you started out let's go back to the hockey days.
Yes.
20 years in hockey. What is one way that hockey still influences you today?
I grew up in Canada. Everyone loves hockey. I think it's a big part of a lot of people's lives, in Canada. So for me, it was really just getting that drive, motivation. Dream was always playing the NHL growing up. My dad was always super intense, as a kid, and getting to the rink and practicing and doing the dry line outside. And it was a big part of life, I think, with teammates and trying to make it to the big leagues. And that just kind of, I think, drove a lot of motivation as for a team and kind of getting stuff done. So that was probably a big piece of my life growing up. And then, that's probably just the motivation of just being on a team and really just, trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like you're trying to win now?
Yes. I think every day there's competitors that are trying to beat you up. So you gotta stay sharp and you gotta always have that competitive spirit in you as a founder.
You sound like you're giving a hockey interview
Yeah.
by the sidelines. Got to get in the corners.
Yeah.
Why wellness of every industry?
Played hockey about, for probably 20 years of my life growing up. Stopped playing hockey, went to school, and then I kind of went to finance route with school, did a lot of business, management at Western. And then I kind of lost myself a little bit. I kind of didn't know where I was. I knew I wanted to be, just with sports. And then after not being in sport anymore, I kind of was where's my fit? And everyone was super smart in school, doing the Ivy route, doing getting A's on tests. I wasn't really there. I wasn't really a school guy growing up in terms of the books. So I kind of lost myself. So I kind of figured out later on what I was going to do, graduated school, and then went into banking for about 2 months at an internship after school. And then all that also wasn't my fit. So after that, I was I got to figure it out. So went into sales, went to commercial real estate for about a year. And during that time, I came across a product through a podcast, Relay Therapy. So I was driving one day to, I think I was driving just to a friend's house. I had Ben Greenfield on, a legend in the health space, if you know about Ben Greenfield. And he had a talk about Relay Therapy and the benefits of skin health, muscle and joint pain, hair growth, all these amazing things. I wanted to buy it for myself. So I actually went online to buy it, and it was a fortune to buy. It was $1,000 for a small box for light panel. So I was this is insane. I can't afford it. I had no money at the time. So I just thought it was an amazing idea. And then, years went by and I kind of always thought about it as this is before it was cool. This is probably over 10 years ago. And then over time, I just loved the concept of the advice. And my buddy and I actually, my ex co-founder, we just talked one day about starting an e-commerce company up. And we mentioned Relay Therapy. So that's kind of how we got into it. And, obviously the experience of health and playing hockey and loving health and wellness was a big component of that. But that's what kind of started.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was we actually went to Alibaba, which is obviously the source for, I think, anyone in e-commerce always is, looking for the best supplier to get the best kind of price for products. So went there, was a fraction of the price. And we actually started by I went on Fiverr originally and I paid $20 for a logo. I love the name Cal. I always thought about K's being super viral with obviously Kim Kardashian and Kanye's. And I thought K's were just so just big in America. So I was young. I was like, let's do it. Let's try this out. So I went on a name generator and looked up K words that had 4-letter words and it had like a good like kind of ring to it. And I kind of just like kept pressing like, reset in the name generator.
Hmm.
And I found Kala come up and it just kind of was like almost like an intuition. I just saw it and I was like, this is it. So I looked it up and it means sun in Hawaiian. I was like, that's pretty
Hmm.
fitting for light. So then I kind of went with that, went on Fiverr, paid a guy $20 to make the logo. I had like the emblem kind of set up. Got that. Then I ordered in products from Alibaba originally. And I had like a sample that was good enough. And I put the logo on the back of the device, how to just screen print it on the original product. And that was, years and years ago. That was probably 6.5 years ago. And now it's all proprietary. But that's how we started. And we had, $5,000 myself, my partner, 5K to our name. Freshly out of college, we had like, full-time jobs in our own, respectful fields. And that's kind of how we started. Made a site. And then, yeah, obviously a lot happened between that, but that's kind of how we got started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk a little bit about the ramp up to going on to Dragon's Den. For a lot of businesses, going on to Dragon's Den is not the right choice. A lot of folks want to keep 100% equity, and I know that's part of your story as well. So I wanted to hear about like why bother going on Dragon's Den?
Yeah, I think we were about a year in and we started applying for Dragon's Den 'cause we thought it was, obviously it's great for social proof. It's great to have, views for in any business to have eyeballs on your site leads to conversions, right? Conversion rate is essentially just eyeballs and, conversions. So for us, it was so important to just have like that Canadian trust. So we kind of applied for it, had like 3 interviews, and we were really excited for it. You gotta have a lot of entertainment when you're doing the interviews because it's a show, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for us, it was more entertainment value, and obviously the money was we were pretty tight. So we wanted to look at the option to trade cash for equity. And we went on the show and we were like so nervous. Like it was like you arrive and there's like a big like black drape. You can kind of peek through and see the judges like on the panels. And I remember being like so nervous. My friend and I were like, we were just like, like so nervous for the episode. And it ended up going like really well. We ended up getting a deal on the show. We didn't take the deal after the show,
Oh,
but we did get a deal on the show. We decided not to because we just thought we kind of had a lot of momentum. We thought that maybe the cash was a little early for the time after we kind of did the show and we're kind of picking things up. Because as you do interviews, it's like months after that, the show goes live. So you have a lot of steam from like the months that, if you're a founder. So depending on how your situation is, we thought it wasn't quite the time for us to take capital.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's something about the Dragon's Den experience that people don't see?
Yeah, it's I mean, you know what they're gonna ask, right? It's all just one show. You kind of like walk on and you get kind of stared down with like the dragons or the
Is it
sharks.
silent?
And it's all silent. So you like walk out and it's like there are the cameras following you and you sit, you go to like the line and you look at them and like they just grill you for like 30 seconds and then you have to come back out and then you go into your pitch. So you're already nervous because you're like seeing them. They're all like cross-legged with their books and you have to go and pitch them. Then out when you're starting to pitch them, it's like you kind of have your memorization for what you want to say in like your pitch. And the questions that come, like, it just, you don't know what's going to come. So we had some questions about like, CAC based on your average order value, which is like, we were so young. I was like 23 or 24 at the time. And I was like, I don't know what like my CAC, I didn't know what CAC was. Right.
Yeah.
So,
So you do get the questions in advance?
you don't know.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah.
Based on how caught off guard some guests are.
Yeah. Yeah. So it could be like an out of field question that you got to kind of, you're looking at you have your strengths, your co-founders, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
usually lead into like whatever, if it's more analytical or more like creative, you can kind of figure out who's doing what question.
Yeah.
But, if no one talks and it's like, someone's got to jump in and do it.
So I want to talk about, no great business is built without good and bad days, ups and downs. And I want to hear about, especially in the early days, because a lot of folks who tune in are early stage founders and they wonder if the problems that they have are unique to them. So take me into one of your early days where things were not going to plan.
Yeah, there's so many. I think that the biggest things in e-commerce is really like empty shelves don't sell. So you have to have product, wherever you are. I think drop shipping model is essentially it's understandable. I think it's kind of dead because you got to ship it in, over air from if you're supplying overseas. So it's very expensive to make the economics work. So for us, the biggest issue we always found was it wasn't the product. I think you really got to focus on making a great product as an e-commerce brand or whether it's service, whatever it is, because it will sell if it's a great high quality product. The issue is shipping. So we had an issue
Mm.
where remember the Suez Canal that happened a while
Yeah.
ago. So we had all of our goods ready. I think it was before Christmas or it was before a huge event. And we had a container on the sea and we spent like all of our money on this container, right? So we had like, everything ready to go. It was a container where like we're finally getting this, like we're getting past the air shipment, squeeze where you got to pay so much money to air it in. It's like the cost of like Porsches to ship in like stuff, right? It's a fortune. So it got stuck on the sea, and we were sitting there like sitting on our hands, thinking, "What are we gonna do? We have no money." Everyone's like starting to freak out because we're already like 2 weeks delayed on shipping, right? From our Canadian warehouse, from our 3PL at the time. So that was really tough. I think managing shipping is always an issue with e-commerce, and then like customer service, and like we had to air it in, we had to like take out debt to like air the product in overseas, make more goods, and it was like Q4, so it was like
You
really
literally had no
expensive.
money.
We had zero money. Yeah, we've literally bet the whole farm. Like I've done it like probably 12 times. Where like you bet all your savings that you have in the company, you take out debt through like whether it's the bank or like other. I can talk about their platforms that are amazing as well. So that's really challenging in the beginning when you had no inventory and you have to sell it because your customers they're doing refunds, then it's a whole thing. So and also you're paying to acquire the customer. So you lose your CPC of like maybe like $200 at the time, for a $700 AOV, and you're
Oh
losing
my
that.
gosh.
Plus you're losing the customers' revenue from Shopify. Plus, plus. So that was challenging. Shipping was really hard at first.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it like to take that leap and just bet the whole farm?
I think you have no choice. I think that if you want to grow and you want to be a real brand, you have to take, chances and you have to take risk. And I think that it was always non-negotiable for me. I always thought it was like, it always felt like it was fitting. Like I said, the gut, the podcast is called Gut, right? So I think that's pretty fitting and you really got to go with your gut. And if you believe in it, then you have to go with it. So oftentimes you're betting the farm on things, right? So yeah, you got to take that step.
Wow. What is the least you've ever paid yourself?
The least,
Yeah.
can I say minus?
If it's true.
Um, well, I didn't pay myself a cent until like probably a year and a half ago. Like I literally made no money for like the first like 2-3 years. The first year I had another job and I was like working like from like 5 to like midnight with my ex co-founder. Like we hop on, laptops and we'd like go through our store, go through making email campaigns. Before AI existed, we had like, our Instagram, we were looking Canva, like getting scrappy with the designs. And like I've done every task like in the whole business, right? So everyone has if you're a founder, right? If you're scrappy. So it was $0 for for at least 3 years. I invested some more of my own money originally. And then, because every dollar, in the company could be worth like $3 or $4, right? If you have a, for example, 70% margin and you're buying inventory and you're selling it.
Mm-hmm.
So I always figured that it's worth just putting in the business rather than me having it. And I was living at home at the time at my like, my parents' place and just being scrappy, and just getting by for the first few years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were they bought in on Cala?
I think they were just supportive of me being like, their son and like they know I had a lot of drive and, red light wasn't a thing back then. So they saw this device I had and they were like, all right, like, take a swing at it. And I've always been entrepreneurial growing up. I used to sell like my dad owns like a cell phone store,
Hmm.
like a Rogers store. So he used to have like phone cases. So I'd bring him to school in high school and I'd like be like selling like phone cases in like class. And I was always like entrepreneurial and I wanted to buy like a speaker in high school. So I would sell like all these phone cases to buy like a speaker and I would like do like, pool cleaning, whatever it was. I had like a million jobs growing up and I was always very entrepreneurial. So I think they knew I drive, but the product was it's probably concerning at first because like, what's this light going to do for health, but yeah, they believed in me, thankfully.
Are there any other days, just like rock bottom days, like low days, where you were like, I don't know if Cala's going to continue to exist?
Rock bottom days. Yeah, there's like a million. We had an issue we went to Costco and obviously, Costco works. Costco's it's often very high returns because Costco has this policy where, you can return a dishwasher from 10 years ago anytime. They have a lifetime return policy, right? So
I
which makes
think
it
I knew
very
that
hard.
deep down.
Did you know that?
I don't think so.
No? Yeah, it's people can return anything forever. It's like they're like never values. So we had a time where we were in Costco the last few years now, and we had a time where one of our remotes like ended up like blowing up because I think like, the customer had it like it was overheating beside like a a super hot, I don't know what happened, but it was like a super hot like heater. Ended up like blowing up, and then we had a recall based on like a manual issue. So the manual, I don't know, it was like manual didn't say temperature issue, like it didn't have a temperature like I guess like policy in the manual. So we now have to recall like a million five, so a million and a half, like $1.5 million. We had to basically refund to consumers, and we had all the product come back. And then at the same time, I was buying my I was going the process of buying my co-founder out, and then I had other like stuff happening as well. So I think that's like a really hard point. Everyone has points where it's like, I don't know how this is going to work. And we actually made like a refer program. So we got the products back that were returned, and we created this refer program at Cala. And it's basically like a program where if you're like, less fortunate or want to, buy a product for cheaper, you can buy it on our site under like the outlet section. So then that kind of help keep, things afloat during that time. But that was super challenging. It was really just really a manual issue. It wasn't even a product really defect. So, and it wasn't necessarily our fault really. So that was really hard. Inventory is always hard, like I mentioned, but yeah, those are tough times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember sitting just like staring at the wall, being like, all right, what is going on? Like, what am I going to do? Is there ever a moment like that? Just like staring out the window.
Yeah. I think I always think like action, gives you results. So I think always just like chipping away at something, whatever it is, has always been my kind of motto to just keep things alive. So just like going back to the drawing board and figuring out, how we can make this work. But yeah, of course, it was like, there's times where I'm staying through the ceiling. I'm just like, how in the world is this going to work? But you always kind of try to make a way, right?
Yeah. So a lot of people make mistakes, especially early on. If there is a sentence that you could start saying, the dumbest thing I did, every founder does early on, like what's something that would fit you?
The dumbest thing I did was wire the wrong supplier like 50 grand. We were first, we were like, it was in the first few weeks of business, or like maybe the first, a few months, whatever. And I wired the wrong supplier like 50 grand. And back then there wasn't like, it was really hard to wire money. Like years ago, like you had to like go to the bank, and like, there's always like, banks have like wire, e-wire, systems, but it was super hard back then. So I had to go to the bank and I'd like write the numbers, and like, you like manually put the wire in. It was wrong supplier. So we had to like basically ask the supplier to trust us and say, hey, please send us back the money. Like we beg you, like we need this money.
Oh my God.
And my partner at the time was like, dude, like, how did you send the wrong supplier money? And it was like, it was so manual. So back then it was just like, and we were so busy. So it was fully my fault. But I ended up losing like probably like 6 grand on the transaction, because like you're basically exchanging Canadian dollars to US dollars. Right. And then they go to the, they're wiring over there, and you lose money in the wire, and then they come back to you. And it's like, so that was probably the dumbest thing I did, was send 50 grand to the wrong supplier.
They sent it back?
They sent it back. Yeah. Most of it. I think they were a little cheeky on their conversion, but we got most of it back. But that was a rough go.
Did you have any relationship with these people?
It was early. No, they only had like, some video calls. It's flipped in China, right? So it's overseas. So it's like you're calling them at nighttime or in the morning. So it's just a few calls here and there, and it was pretty early. So yeah, I got lucky in that one, I guess you could say.
I bet that is lucky.
Yeah.
I've asked a Chinese supplier for a refund in the past, or like to like send the money back because nothing ever transpired, and they said no. Actually, they just ghosted me. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was less money though. Would you say that's the most expensive mistake you've ever made?
No, I wouldn't say the most expensive mistake we've made. We've done a lot of like, we spent, millions of dollars on Meta, right? So we spent like, millions of dollars there, millions on Google over the last 6 years. So a lot of mistakes you can't really see, because like you're spending money on so many things at once. So when you're growing so fast, I think like things just happen so quickly. And yeah, I'm sure I have a million mistakes that I've made, but that's one of the bigger ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that your primary acquisition channel, is through Meta ads, like Instagram ads?
Yeah, we do. A lot of Meta, a lot of Google when we were starting out, and then a lot of B2B. But yeah, with retail, Costco is amazing now, and Walmart and Sam's Club. But originally it was like DTC's, like basically Shopify was the main route.
Was there any time where there was a Hail Mary in Cala's lifetime?
I think the best, like we take Hail Marys every Q4. So for
Every Q4?
every Q4 we take Hail Marys. Yeah. I think for any e-commerce business, you have to, usually you have to raise money, or you have to like use the money you have in the account for Q4 inventory, right? So
Explain what that means.
So if you have, Q4 is Black Friday, it's Christmas. I think like Thanksgiving is right before, Black Friday. Then you have like, the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So Q4 is really, really massive. So if you want to have a big Q4, you got to order inventory and usually by sea, right? If you want to save money than expressing by air, right? Because it's a fortune to ship by air, especially overseas. So you got to raise, a ton of money to play with suppliers to ship products to you from overseas, right? So that takes usually 60 days to make goods, another 2 months to have it shipped by container by the sea. So you got to raise money like really in like August or like sometime in the summer to pay the suppliers. They ship it and then you can sell goods for Q4. So the money you raise is really important for Q4. So we've raised, millions of dollars just with Hail Marys and emptying out all of our accounts, raising debt, equity-free debt through Wayflower is a great option for that.
Hmm.
They're a Dublin-based company, but that's a Hail Mary, right? All the accounts done, you have debt, just so you can sell products for Q4. Really just thinking that people are gonna buy the products in Q4, right? So it's a huge Hail Mary.
Yeah. And you at
Yeah.
that point have no indication of what sales are going to look like.
You have no idea. No, I have no idea. I mean, you have obviously, as you kind of grow as a company, you can kind of forecast based on previous years. You have a lot of consumer data and you have, you kind of build lifers, deliver products.
Mm.
But no, so that's a big Hail Mary that I think most founders take in e-commerce is inventory for Q4. And even this year, like we gotta, take a big jump as well. So that's that separates people who have goods and don't have goods in Q4, maybe sell it a little too early.
Mm-hmm. Do you still feel the fear for the Q4 Hail Mary?
Um, I don't anymore because I think that even if it doesn't sell out, we'll have Q1 to sell a lot of product through.
Mm.
And I'm just so confident in the category. I think that everyone's really investing in their health now. I think like consumer index, I think like health is up, I think like 30-40% across the world. And then a lot of stuff's down across the categories. I think everyone wants to invest in health and wants to feel good and wants to live a long life. So I think that the category, is going up. So that helps with when the trends kind of like a hockey stick curve, right? So we're seeing that in our space. So obviously it's scary, but I just see it as no other option.
Mm-hmm. What's it been like for you to be in a category where there can be a lot of hype and misinformation?
Yeah, I think education is really important. It's a great question. And there's a lot of categories that have kind of come and gone. Um, I think red light therapy was very woo-woo at first. But there's been like over 7,000 clinical trials on light therapy for like acne or like fine lines or wrinkles or whether it's like ailments and chronic pain. So thankfully, a lot of education helps the space. Know it's actually legit. There's clinical trials and stuff. But at first, it was very like just trust me, like this is the right product for you guys. And now actually it's a medical device. So it's actually a class 2 medical device. It's over supplements that you ingest in your body. So the FDA and Health Canada and TGA in Australia and MDRs in Europe, they all treat it like super serious, the category. So we have to pay it's like $30,000 to have one device approved by FDA, then Health Canada. So it's a fortune to actually get these devices approved. To sell it because the government won't let you sell the devices because it's as a medical device. So for us at first, like that came, there's also another one that came like a few years back before it wasn't really a thing because it was so new to the category that didn't really know what this device was. So that was a big thing. We had to like basically pay all this money for all of our units to get approved by like Health Canada because we're mainly in Canada, right, at the time. So that kind of helps when you have a device, that has like real, literature and is approved medically to know it's actually going to help your body.
Mm-hmm.
But now I see it as a moat, right? Because not everyone can just sell red lights and just order it from China. You have to actually have medical device approvals. But yeah, it's interesting how, the whole category goes.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
For those of you who've shot with me, you know what the Swiffer is. The Swiffer is my knight in shining armor. It is actually a side character of this show. You didn't even know. I use the Swiffer to manage these massive curtains behind me. These are 12-foot drapes with crushed velvet. They're beautiful and hard to manage, and I actually use the Swiffer all the time. This episode is sponsored by Village Home Cleaning. Village Home Cleaning is the premier New York City residential cleaner team that you need in your life today. It is so frustrating to come home from a long day of shooting, working with people, like spending all your energy on chasing your dreams just to come home to a messy, dirty apartment. One of my favorite things that a cleaner has done for us is she organized our bags. You know how everyone has like a bag of bags? You can probably hear my Canadian accent coming out, but you know how you have a bag of bags and it's always this random chaos that's like under your sink or like in some random cabinet. This cleaner, shout out Maria, organized all of our bags in this amazing system, and we still use her system to this day. It has been a game changer for just these little things that you don't have time to think about, especially living here in New York City. Village Home Cleaning, use the code GUTPOD, GUTPOD, for your next booking for a little gift from our team here at the Gut Pod. Now, let's get back to the show. Like, the word founder is really having a moment.
Yes.
And there's so much interest in people, like the entrepreneurs and the person behind the business, which is what Gut is about. And it's a very unique kind of person that does that. For a lot of people, they're not cut out for it. And massive failures can stop them forever. They also, there takes like a lot of belief in yourself. And so the belief can waver to the extent, like to the point where people just give up because they're used to, especially in corporate, having someone say and affirming that's the right move, that's the right decision. When you become a founder, you don't have that. There's no one there to tell you that was the right choice. Do you have a lot of mentors in your life or people that you seek guidance from?
Yeah, I mean, I heard this quote that said, being a founder is like jumping off a cliff and then building a plane on the way down and trying to just survive. And that's really what it is. It's very unglamorous. Most of the time you're like, on your computer late at night trying to figure out how to put out a fire. There's like, we still have like probably like 3 fires a day that I'm putting out like every day, whatever it is. Yeah, I have some great mentors in my life. I have, one is, his name is John Firstbrook. He's actually, Angel Firstbrook's father. Remember from here?
Yeah.
So his dad's amazing. He's got a great business and we actually met at graduation, at our university graduation, which is really interesting. And he's a great guy. He has great experience in like the insurance world. And I think having a mentor is really important, for someone who's older than you, maybe like, your dad's age, I think is a great age because like they kind of seen the road as it kind of goes down. My dad's an amazing mentor of mine as well. He does a lot of like, relationship stuff and trying to keep me in line with like, where he sees me going. But it's super important to have kind of a light down the road to kind of guide you, especially if it's in your industry. Like if you have someone that is great in your industry that you know of, or it's on Instagram, whatever it is, like reach out. Like I love helping people out, whether it's like someone who's like, a kid that I know growing up, whatever it is. I think that people want to help people out. If they don't, then they're probably just, not great people and you can skip them anyways. So I think it's great to have mentors and especially within your category. I think it's so enlightening for me to have people above me. But a lot of it was kind of solo, to be honest. Like a lot of it was like YouTube videos and then kind of figured it out myself. But now I trust a lot of like founders, that are older than me and it's great to have that light. So if I was to start today and I wanted to have 100 customers, I think now it was much different result than 5 years ago when 6 years ago when I started my company. I'd probably go attention. So I'd probably go through like, media, to like whether it's like TikTok or Instagram. I know it sounds like it's not that easy, obviously, to get viewers or customers. But I think having attention as a founder and being like founder focused as a brand owner is so important nowadays because no one really knows, who you are. And people don't buy from brands, they buy from people. So if you can be behind the product and really explain like why you're better and why you kind of are worth, their hard-earned income. I think that's the best way to make content nowadays. So being really organic and like showing like how it's made, like maybe comparing the tech specs and like I always say there's A, B, C, D, which is our methodology. It's kind of like authentic reviews, before and afters, clinical trials or like clinical studies, and then doctors. So it's similar to like any category. If you can have those kind of 4 pillars in your own kind of respective worlds within like the content and kind of pushing like that trust, I think that helps a lot with the first 100 customers.
What's one trait that you would say if someone has that, they should definitely not become an entrepreneur?
If you're risk averse, some people are too smart to be entrepreneurs. It's just they're thinking about all the outcomes. They have, like the balance sheet and like the competitors and like they've raised like $100 million. How are we going to compete with like a, CPG company that has all this money at their disposal? They have like the celebrity founders. I think celebrity founders are actually only worth about 5% of 100% of a company, right? So it's like, there's all these things that you can think about. But if you love it and you enjoy it and you're passionate about it, I think like that is, when you should do it. But yeah, just risk is the biggest thing I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Do you think ADHD is essential for a founder's success?
I don't think it's essential, but I think it's definitely a superpower if you can hone it in. I think growing up as a kid, I was in like special classrooms. I was like in like smaller pods of people because I was super distracted growing up and I was not very good at school. So I think that, I was kind of written off when I was young because they thought I'm going to be too crazy and I'm not going to be able to like, hold a job and all this stuff. And as you get older, you can actually have a superpower when you have ADHD, and you can actually have unlimited energy, and you can focus on a million things at once. And it's great for a founder if you can control it. But if you can't control it, then I think it's very challenging to like have systems in place, which I think is a lesson, and it's really just learning how to be the best person with that trait. But I think it's great. Yeah, I think a lot of founders have ADHD.
Yeah. At least 80% of the founders I've interviewed on Gut
Really?
have mentioned that they have ADHD.
That's so interesting.
Clinically diagnosed, not just
Wow.
like, oh, I have ADHD. Like, I have
Yeah,
ADHD.
that is so interesting. Yeah, I was fully prescribed as a kid on like medic. I didn't last very long. My dad thought I was going to stunt my growth for hockey, so he's like, "We're taking this guy off it.
Hockey's
Let him be.
number one.
Just let him be crazy." But
Yeah.
that's so interesting.
What did you believe about yourself growing up when you weren't the best student?
I went to like a school in grade 5 and 6 that was like in downtown, and my family was like middle class family, so like we like invested in like this like school that was like it was called Dunblane, and it was like downtown, and it was like really small classrooms. It was really focused on like helping kids be confident and like help with their writing and help kids were like either like super like on the spectrum like autistic or like had like severe ADHD, and it was super like interesting school dynamic, but I always thought I was like different. I was like, why can't I like, fit into like, the classroom structure and like do like the work, and like I was just too much energy, I guess. And then I just thought I was kind of written off a bit. Like I thought maybe it wouldn't hold like maybe like, sports were the only way it was going to go down. But I all kind of turned around, so I think like if you're different, I think like everyone's so different, and to kind of hone into who you are and like leaning into like what makes you different and unique is like so important in this life. So that's coming out with Kala, and that's kind of the story. That's how I started.
How did did that belief about yourself that you're different, did that ever change, or do you still have that?
Yeah, I think that like the way that we run Kala is very abnormal. I think that like the culture of the staff and everyone's like it's just structured in a very like kind of like freestyled like kind of liberal way. Which probably is normal for most companies. So maybe that's like what I think, but
yeah. So there's a lot of envy around founder life. People see the splashy numbers, they see a splashy sales or an ad campaign, or they see you doing a partnership with Aloe, like a world-renowned brand.
Yeah.
And there can be a lot of envy. If someone knew everything about your situation, would they be jealous of you?
I think they would be envious of things from frosted glass, from like the Instagram or like from LinkedIn, whatever. But I think like no, like they probably wouldn't trade. They say, what's the quote? I think it's like they would trade for your life, but they wouldn't trade what got you the life. I think I kind of butchered it, but probably not. Like I had a really like tough like 3-4 years starting up the company. Like it was like super stressful, and like we raised money, and there was a lot of like misalignment with like what I was going to do with the future. I mean, yeah, like I got Forbes under 30. I was like, I guess almost a year and a half ago now. And like, that was like a huge, like, thing. I think everyone like, loves like the whole under 30 thing. And I think it's really praised in like communities and like people, it's like a founder's dream when you're like in your 20s to like be under 30. And when I got that, I think that, I felt like it was really cool, but like behind the scenes, like there was so much going on that was so unenviable. Like I was the process of like buying my founder out, and then we had like, like a recall going on. We had so much stuff happening. So, don't believe everything you see online. I think that there's a lot of like, no one's showing their bad moments, right? Everyone's showing like always like the rainbows and the stars of their careers. And I think people actually should actually show more of the bad stuff, because it actually does better in terms of like acquisition and like telling a story, and people want to like buy the story. So I think actually telling, and like shooting like you at the shoot versus the shoot, in Instagram and on your content is doing better nowadays than actually the production itself. That's you spend so much money on. So, but yeah, I think that it's not enviable behind the scenes for sure.
What do you think when someone has Forbes 30 under 30 on their vision board?
I think it's a great tool. I always had vision boards since I was a kid. You have to have a target and a goal to know what to hit. So, when you're in your room and you're, then at night you come back to your dorm or you're back to your house and you can see kind of the vision. If it was a hard day and like, this is what I want, I think subconsciously it really helps with figuring out, your next move. So for me, I've always loved like affirmations and figuring out, what I want and putting it into the universe. So I think it's an amazing tool to have if you have vision board, or if you don't have one, definitely get one. So yeah, definitely recommend that.
Hmm. Is there anything that you block out of your mind?
Um, I'd say doubt. It's probably sounds so cliche, but like I think that you have to have like almost like you feel almost like a psycho in like what you want out of your life and your business. And I think if you just think about like your competitors, I think it's a big one. Like if you think about like, other companies that are like, for you for like podcasts, other like people in the city, whatever. I think just like focusing on those things is just a distraction, and you got to put like horse blinders on and really focus on what you want. So for me, I always think that doubt from competitors is one I just kind of block out. If I see ads, whatever, like I don't even look at competitors' websites. I just kind of have a vision for what we want.
Hmm.
And that's really important, I think. Yeah.
So you completely block it out mentally?
Yeah, I think we do our best to. I support the whole category. So if someone's doing great stuff in this space, it's good for everyone if they're making great products, people are using it, and we want to help people out. But yeah, you can't get caught up in the weeds with I think like your peers. And just focusing on the task at hand is is really the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
talk about the Olympic deal.
yeah. So Olympics. So my Spencer and I, Spencer from college, obviously. So
Mhm.
Spencer and I were best friends, and we were like just walking through Athens, and we heard about this amazing like marble, the first Olympic stadium. I think it's like the first Olympics. I think it's the first Olympic stadium ever, but it's all marble and it's this beautiful white like stadium. Looks somewhat like the Coliseum almost.
Hmm.
And we went there, we were like running laps, and we just had this like crazy energy. And like we had a couple drinks the night before, so we definitely weren't like feeling our best. And we got there, we just had this like euphoria of like we're like running the track, we're like going seeing all like the old Olympic games that had all like torches from like the years in the past like on the wall, and we thought it was like so interesting. And then we already knew like, we were working with a lot of athletes. He's like, yo, you should like try to get the Olympics with like Hala. That'd be like amazing. You have athletes, we're like therapy. It's amazing, partnership. So, yeah, you're probably right. So I was like, hey, why don't we cold email them? So we just cold emailed like the Olympic Committee and the COC. And we're like, hey, like,
You cold emailed the Olympics?
we cold emailed, yeah. So we're like, hey guys, like, if you know about us, we're Cala, we have like therapy devices. We'd love to do a partnership with you guys. And then we had to like follow up a couple times. And we heard back from like someone at the COC, and they're super strict. Like they have to like, obviously Olympians are like, it's so important to protect, their what they want and the health, and they want to make sure the devices are perfect. So we had to like, we ended up doing the whole deal within 3 months, Olympic deal. So we put together a full campaign. We got approved within probably like a month, and it was like it was the quickest deal ever. They told us it was forever in the Olympic history in Canada, and we had like our own like licensed products. We had a Calamini 2.0, and we had the mask, like the viral mask that you can see probably some TikTok of all different brands. But so we had those two products that were actually licensed. So we got the IP from the logo of the rings, the Canada and the logo, and it has the Cal beside it. So there's different packages you can get. We had like that package, and then we had it put in the products. But it was so close to the Olympics at this point, because it took so long to get the deal done, that we had to like manufacture devices and pick a color, because they had to be the exact same red as Team Canada. So we actually ended up like sending them a sample, and they said, oh, it's not perfect yet. Like, I guess to change the color. We changed it and then produced the products, like trusting that it was gonna be the right color.
Oh my God.
And then thankfully it was the right color. But we made like 10,000 units. Like, so it would have like crushed like so much cash. But so that happened. We pulled together this campaign. We signed like Sarah Nurse, who's an amazing woman hockey player. She plays in Vancouver now. We signed William as well, speed skater, amazing guy. We had Piper, who's incredible figure skater. Amazing athletes. We ended up doing all these like signings within like a month. So we're calling their agents. We were like figuring out how we can shoot them. And we were like, running around, like getting them shot, like having like the whole contracts done, and like anyway. So did the whole thing in like 3 months, and that was a huge investment.
People see the Olympic deal and they see that you've made it. What is it that they don't see?
I think they don't see the times that you're alone at your laptop. It's like dark out. Your friends are out on a Friday or Saturday night, and you're like looking at this thing. You have this vision about this company, and you're just like alone. It's very lonely being an entrepreneur. I think there's a lot of times that you're like alone, and like people have like other jobs, and they have like relationships with like their coworkers, and they have like a bit of a clique, And you're an entrepreneur. It can be very lonely. So I think that they don't see, it's like, like Ronaldo when he was like training by himself when he was a kid, like no one saw him then they see him, in the stadium, and there's like massive crowd like cheering him on, right? So it's like, the cheering is great when you're doing well, but the times of silence is like, is like really what makes those times. But that's probably the biggest thing when you're kind of building the company up. So a lot of times it's just like challenging situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk to new entrepreneurs and people that want your mentorship, what's a common theme that you see and you wish that they could just get it through their heads that they need to accept XYZ?
Um, I think a lot of entrepreneurs just think that they can make like quick money, and think that they just have to know that like you're gonna basically have the next 2 or 3 years. You're probably gonna have like a lot of lonely times. You're gonna be like, what am I doing? Like I have no money. I'm putting all my time and money into this project of a brand that I think's gonna go big one day, and just knowing that it may not work out. And most businesses don't work out. So like really you have to like go full in and I think either way, if it doesn't work out, you're gonna have an MBA in learning for the next business. So I think that that's really important. But I think, yeah, they just have to know that it's going to be a huge risk and that it's going to change your life overnight. Being a founder. Yeah.
It will?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How?
Your life changes. Your social life is going to get affected. You're going to have less money in the account because you're starting from scratch. If you're scrappy, a lot of your money is going towards your business. A lot of your time is. Relationships are probably going to get diluted because you're spending a lot of time, at the office late at night, or there's a lot of pieces of being a founder that go unnoticed and things. So yeah, it's challenging for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can't handle the loneliness.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of times where you're like, the only person who believes in this or cares if it dies is me.
Yeah.
Like I'm the only person with something on the line.
Yeah. But isn't that beautiful? Knowing that you have, put your time and you're building some equity in something that's like a bigger picture,
Mm-hmm.
For me, like knowing I was working for like when I was in like banking or when I was like in the commercial real estate, knowing that like the funds that I create for the company are like just like my time just going into this like corporation, whereas like if you have your own company, at least the time you're building is going to like the equity that you're building or like the creation that you're making, like, so
Yeah.
I think owning your time, it's almost like owning your time a bit, and then maybe selling it for, a future one day. But yeah, I think that's really cool to be able to, have equity in something and like put your time to like creating that equity. Right?
Yeah. And it's a completely different ballgame than corporate.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I just can't get over the stark differences between working in this large organization where there's such a hierarchy, there's exactly instructions of what you need to do, versus going over into entrepreneurship where the only person who cares if it lives or dies is you, and the only person giving instructions is you.
Yeah. I think also like to be a good employee, to make like $1 million as an employee, you have to basically, you probably make the company like $3 million. So you'd be like, to be very smart, to be very add value, to be like a well-paid employee. And I think that it's hard because also like you're a W-2 earner. It's hard to like structure a company in a way where you can like write off things and you can have like different, avenues for like, tax write-offs, whatever it is. So it's like you end up, it's very challenging. And like at the end of your career, it's you can't really sell what you've built and you've kind of built it for the company. You may have, obviously it's a great way to live. But for me, I always thought like, at the end of that tunnel, if you could create something or sell something in a day or have, someone look back on that's kind of yours is so fun. And it's, I love it. So it's different life for sure. But I think corporate life's also amazing, but yeah, it takes a certain personality to be a founder.
Yeah.
For sure.
So wait, what is the story about Richard Branson's cola brand?
Okay, so apparently Richard Branson drove a tank through Times Square in New York City. He had a like drink company in UK that was crushing it, like a Virgin energy drink. And he was getting, I think, a little bit, confident about, I think, the current state of the company. So went to the US and he had this tank running through Times Square and it was crushing these like Coca-Cola cans. And it was time to show them like, we're in New York now, we're like in the US, we're going to start take ground here. And then what ended up happening was, I think Coke went behind his back, went to retailers across the UK, and ended up like kind of putting money in like, I think some of these companies' pockets, and ended up taking over like their whole SKUs in the UK. So I guess it backfired on him, no pun intended, but great story. And I loved like the kind of mindset to just kind of like dominate a whole new category.
Wow. Okay, tell me what is going on here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, where did this come from? How did you do this? This got done. Oh my gosh. Where did you get this from? Did you print it off?
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so this is a print off of my Shopify notification on my phone. Yeah, so I used to take this this is a screenshot of one of my Shopify sales. I used to take this, I printed it off and I put it on my vision board. And this is like, this is when I got my first few sales on Shopify. And you get that first sale on Shopify, you hear that kind of ka-ching, and it's addicting. So it's the best feeling in the world when you get your first like kind of ka-ching on Shopify. So this was on my vision board growing up. Through the last 6 years I had it, and it was really just kind of testament to getting more sales and kind of seeing it come to life. So this is great. I can't believe you print this off. That's awesome.
Was it a real sale?
This is a real sale, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a screenshot of my background. I don't know who uses this background. Kind of a funny background, but
It's one of the basics.
this was a real sale, yeah. Which I just screenshotted and I decided to print it off and visualize it and yeah, see it come to life. That's so funny. Can we print this off? That's amazing.
What's the most unhinged thing you've done to train your mind?
I've like done crazy stuff. I have like put like episodes of like manifestation on at nighttime when I was sleeping, and I've like
Really?
played it like a laptop. I've like you wake up with crazy dreams because it's like talking in the middle of the night. I've done like the 369 affirmations. So you write like in the morning like 3 affirmations. I think it's the same thing, and you write it in the midday, and you write it 9 times a night. So it's like 3 times, 6 times, 9 times a night, and you kind of like just manifest, what you want. That's a tool. I've like had the crystals. Like I love like energy and like spirituality. So, I've had like abundance. Like pyrite is a great crystal for like abundance, I've heard. So I would carry that to big meetings. So I had this like pyrite gem, and I'd like put in my pocket, and like in big meetings, like dragons, and I had this like rock in my pocket, which like was probably like coming out. I've done that. You know, that's a lot of stuff. I think like a lot of it is spiritual, and a lot of it is like, you really got to believe in what you're doing. So you got to have that, you got to create the universe, like to have that abundance in your life. And you make that kind of happen through like, I think believing in stuff and having, manifestations on what you want to do.
Yeah. I've heard the power of manifestation and the power of writing something down is not only willing it into existence, but also making yourself believe that it's true and rewriting your mind and rewriting the narrative inside. So
Wow.
if you say, we're going to get these sales today, that becomes into existence. In a way, it becomes true.
Right.
And that your mind starts to connect the dots forward to say, well, how will this become true?
Yeah. That's so interesting. I didn't know that. I think saying something and writing it and hearing it, I think writing is probably the most, because you're literally writing the letters and you're like manifesting like what it's saying. So that makes a lot of sense why, it become, I think it's like 10 times more effective, I've heard, or something, or there's some multiple of like how much more effective it is to write it than just to say it.
Mm-hmm.
But also like journaling, if you have like a book, like I bought this book in Amsterdam, and it's like it's like the Odyssey, and it's just a blank inside, but it looks like the Odyssey on the outside. And I've like written like kind of like my life, like, every other day I'll like write in this like journal book, and it's like my like manifestation book. So I think having like a book where it's almost like you're like powerful, like your vision book, whatever, and like having like blank pages and writing your life and really romanticizing your life, like thinking about like a movie, like what would like, the quotes, like what would you do if you were in a movie right now and like you were getting filmed? Like, what would like the main character do in your position, right? And like that's how you got to live with your life and like take the chances and I think writing it down is like kind of adds to like your life and makes it like it's kind of fun. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to like take inventory on your life as you live and like look back on how much you've changed and how much you've grown. And when you write things down over time, you can look back on things too, and you can like appreciate your mindset and how things have changed in your life, which is I think really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're the main character in your own life?
I feel like I am. Yeah. My phone screen's over there, but it says, pressure was a privilege. And it's like an F1 driver, like with like everyone around him, like getting the car, like ready to go, like to go back on the track. I think that you have to live your life as if you're the main character. I think when you have kids, I think they're the main characters then, that they can be, right? Or there's just like, there's many main characters in your life when you have a family, right? So, but yeah, I'd say you got to live like you're the main character in your own movie, I think for sure. And like make your decisions as if you're in a doc or in a movie, and you're take the big swings now, whatever it is. I think you really just gotta push the envelope.
Mm-hmm. What's next for Kala?
What's next for Kala? I think Kala's in like one of the first couple innings right now. I think that we want to take the company globally. So we have like really dominated the Canadian market. Like 90% of our sales are in Canada right now. So US is our second biggest customer base, but I think taking globally, launching new products. We have amazing products launching very soon. We have new panels launching, which are like Ferraris. These have taken like 3 years to make. They truly are the best devices in the world, I think. Just new products, making a bigger team, making amazing devices to help people's health out. I can't spoil everything, but we have a lot of like good partnerships coming up with like professional athletes. Just taking this thing to the next level. I think we could be like a real contender out there compared to like, the big brands in health. So like Aura and like Whoop, I think we could be a contender in that kind of category for health devices. And, we have an app we're working on right now, which is going to be able to, have your health data, whether it's through different like, wearables and just to track your sleep. If you lose a panel at nighttime, you can track, how well you slept before or after red light therapy. So you have actual data to see if it's actually doing something or is it placebo. So I think just like going more into like the intelligence of data and like using the red light therapy and par with that and kind of figuring out how we can maximize health as possible. So yeah, a lot to look forward to.
Cam Stajer, thank you so much for coming to Gut Podcast.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
This has been Founder Portraits. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating. See you next week.